Greetings, people of the internet. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome to the underground laboratory where we create robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. And today we are doing that live because with all the kind of hustle and bustle of the holiday season, I didn't really have time to put together a video. And I like to put out a video every week, at least 1 or 2 videos. So I thought, it's Christmas Eve. I've got some plans later on, but right now I don't have a lot going on, so I thought I would come on here and just do a live drawing and maybe do a holiday themed live drawing, maybe draw a snowman. But you know how I do it here, so we got to do a robot. So how about a snowbot? So we'll do a little robot, snowbot, whatever you want to call it, drawing. And this is impromptu, so I don't know how many people are going to be around, but the chat is open. I just see Ronnie in there. Hey Ronnie, Merry Christmas. This is sort of ask me anything. So if you guys have questions, let me know. I'll answer questions or anything you guys want to talk about while I'm drawing and everything. So let's do that. I'm going to start off. I think I'm going to start off digitally, and then I'll print that out, and then I'll ink traditionally, because I'm trying to do more digital drawing, but because I really need to get in the flow, and I think that's going to make it quicker. But I'm still of the opinion that I can ink way faster traditionally than digitally. So we're going to start off digitally. So we're going to go here. Let me see if I can screen share. Let's see how we do this here. All right, we'll go over here, and I might. Okay, there's a screen, so I'm going to get my glove on here. Now, there's, thanks, I forgot to mention the hat, yeah, so I got this from, we had a party yesterday, so we had some people over, because we usually do like a week before Christmas, but just the way Christmas happens, because my family's split, my parents are divorced, so even though they get along and stuff, so like tonight we're doing a party with my dad's side of the family, and my mom's going to be there anyway. So, but we all like my mom's side of the family, usually we do something like a week before Christmas, because everything happened the way it is. We're doing it all. We're doing it 2 days in a row. So my mom gave me this. She always gives me kind of crazy Star Wars stuff and everything. So, yeah, so it's fun. So I thought I would wear that on the show. So on screen, I don't know, hopefully you can see this. I start off really light. So what I might do is I might switch back and forth from the screen share to like the camera, just to keep it like, it's always good, like when there's editing and things like that, to kind of keep people from getting too bored with what they're seeing on the screen. Hey Keeman, how's it going? Merry Christmas. So yeah, oh yeah, I forgot. So yeah, I'm totally in the holiday spirit. So I'm gonna hold on. All right, here we are. So I got my eggnog. So yeah, I'm ready to go. So let's get back to the drawing. And there we go. All right. All right. So I don't know if you guys can see what's going on the screen. It's very light, but like I said, what I'm doing is I'm just doing some gestures. I've got like, I wanted to do something fairly simple. So snowmen are fairly simple because it's just 3 balls stacked on top of each other. But since we're doing a robot, I'm going to do some, kind of mechanical arms and everything. And then I might have I think I'm going to have some elves building the snowman. So. Yeah, I'm doing great, Keeman. If you guys have any questions or anything you want to talk about, let me know. That's kind of what this whole thing is about. I wish I would have. I really wanted to. Last night I was going to put, because now they've got something on YouTube where you can put like I don't know if it's an event or there's some kind of, you schedule a premiere, I think they call it. I don't know exactly how it works, but I should have let people know in advance, just so they knew I was going to be doing this. But I wasn't quite positive that I was going to be able to do it. So I'm glad I did, because there's just so much stuff going on. So anyway, yeah, back to the drawing. Hopefully you guys, are you able to, I know it's light, but let me know if you can see what's going on the screen. if not, I might switch back to the you know, the live or the picture here in the underground layer, and then once I get further along, maybe I'll switch back to the drawing so you guys can see that. So hold on. So I hope everyone's having a great Christmas. I'm sure everyone's got their plans, so it means a lot that you guys are here. You can see it. Okay, cool. It means a lot that you guys are here because I know you probably have better things to do, but that's cool. I wanted to also do it early because I think a lot of people obviously do stuff in the evening on Christmas Eve. So, and I've got plans too. I don't like so my kids are going to be with their mom on Christmas Day. So, but I'll have them tonight. So I don't know what all I'm going to be doing. Yeah, it's definitely a snowman. It's going to be a robot snowman though. So, so I don't have a lot of plans tomorrow. I think I'm going to be just tagging along with my girlfriend. We're going to visit her parents and stuff like that. But we talked about going out to see a movie. I think we're going to go see Mary Poppins probably. But I hear that I don't know if I've ever went to like a movie on Christmas, but I hear it's like probably like the busiest day for movies, which is kind of crazy. But I guess families like to go out and oh, cool. So Ronnie's on the lunch break. Oh, I do appreciate the support. Yeah, and that's kind of like for me, it's like 9 o'clock where I am. So I figure other people, like if you're more on the East Coast, it might be like a lunchtime thing. So I figure I might be able to pick up some people here. So again, if you guys got any questions in the chat, let me know. But yeah, so I really do. I kind of want to see Mary Poppins. I went and saw Aquaman the other day. The cool thing is now my situation where I don't really have the day job anymore. I can go out and I thought, you know what, I can kind of cut out and take in a movie anytime I want. But I went to this was the day before yesterday, because like these Christmas parties I'm doing at my place. So so I spent the whole day cleaning, and I was just like totally exhausted. I'm like, oh, and so I just want to relax. So I just went to like a 10 o'clock evening showing of Aquaman, and I didn't know, because I thought it would be, you know, I figured it was opening weekend. I figured it was the evening showing, you know, and I just figured it would be crazy crowded. So I tried to go. I went online to like get tickets, and you know, some of these theaters now, they have where you can pick your seats and everything. And I went on, and of course you try to order online, they hit you all these surcharges and everything. And so then I'm like, I don't want to pay the extra money for that. So, and then I'm like, well, you know what, maybe I should, just because if I can reserve the seat, it might be worth the extra, whatever, $2 it was. And then I won't have to worry about going early and everything. So I'll go online, and there's only like one theater in the city that I live in that's close. Now I can go to other theaters that aren't too far away, but I just decided, well, I'm just gonna, I'll just pay the extra $2, and then I'll just go in, and then I don't have to worry about a line, because it's, you know, it's opening weekend, it's Aquaman, all this stuff. And then, but they've been doing some work on this theater. They're at like the bar where you know, you can get drinks and stuff. So I thought they were going to have and I knew that was finished. So I figured that they had the assigned seating, and they didn't. So it's like I paid the extra $2, and then I'm like, oh, now I got to go early anyway. So I get there like 45 minutes before the movie starts, and like it is dead. There is no one there at all, and not just for Aquaman, but I know Bumblebee also came out, and you know, and there's you know, Into the Spider-Verse is out, which I saw, which I love. And there was like nobody there at the whole theater. I'm like, what's going on? Is this the way? Because I usually go to matinees because they're cheaper. I don't usually go to like the evening showings. and it was just me, you know, because you know, my girlfriend was over at her place and everything, and my kids weren't with me, so it was just me. So I go in there, I'm like, okay, and what do I do now for 45 minutes? Because you know, I didn't need to get there this early, but anyway, so I saw Aquaman, and it's got a lot of mixed reviews, and so far, just you know, to give you an idea where I stand that with a lot of the DC movies, I'm not a big fan. I mean, I liked Wonder Woman. Justice League, it was somewhat entertaining, but you know, like even from Man of Steel, I just didn't like that. So I just didn't like the direction it was going. But I really liked Aquaman. I think it was just kind of crazy, over the top. But I've heard, like, I know Corey Kerr, I saw him post on Facebook that it was like he said it was the worst movie he saw this year. So it definitely, it seems like it's going to be polarizing, but I don't know, it's just super fun. And like, I thought it was just going to be a CGI, just nightmare, just because everything has to be CGI just because of the nature of the movie, which it was. But I was really impressed with some of the visual stuff I hadn't ever seen before, you know, just some really original stuff. And, you know, it's not like a masterpiece by any sense of the imagination, but I just had a lot of fun with it. So, and it is a little too long. It's like 2.5 hours. I think they could have cut it down a little bit. And, you know, there's a little bit of like CGI in the beginning, like some de-aging, which honestly, I didn't really notice the de-aging. It just looked like the actor had this was an actor that I hadn't seen before in a long time. So I only know that actor, as being younger or somewhat younger. So I thought, well, maybe that's just the way the guy looks, but it looked like he was wearing a really like awful like wig. But I think it was just all kind of that de-aging CGI. But, you know, I mean, it didn't bother me that much. But a lot of the underwater scenes and everything, I really liked it. So I'm hesitate to say go out and see it because, like I said, a lot of people don't like it. So I guess it's just kind of up to you. I heard people compare it to like the 80s Flash Gordon because like they say they know what it is, what it's supposed to be. And it's just kind of just this colorful spectacle. And, you know, I don't know. I enjoyed it a lot more than I used to. And I mean, than I thought I would. And Aquaman, I know he gets a lot of flack and stuff, but I always liked Aquaman since I was a kid, and like he was like my favorite. I had a little Mego doll, back in when Mego put out the world's greatest superheroes. Aquaman, I think, might have been one of the first ones I got, and then of course Super Friends and everything. So I always liked that, and and a lot of people also say they don't like his suit because it's just the you know, kind of the orange and green. But I like his suit for its simplicity. I like the way it looks. So when they showed in the preview where they showed him where he had that suit on, I'm like, okay, I might maybe this might have something for me. So yeah, but I really like the portrayal of the character and everything. So yeah, I had fun with that. And again, you guys in the chat, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep talking about movies. Saw Into the Spider-Verse like a week ago, I think. I took my boys to see it, and man, that was an awesome movie. That one was like that was probably one of my favorite movies of the year, just because, I mean, if you love animation, I mean, just the style they used, and again, stuff like you've never seen before, and it was incredible. I really dug it, and I want to go see it again, actually. So anyway, let's go back to the drawing a little bit. So we're gonna have like we'll have elves kind of building this robot. At first I thought, well, I've got my Star Wars hat, so maybe I should make it like some Jawas building a robot. And then I thought, well, maybe, or like a snowman robot. And then I thought, well, maybe even BB-8 could be part of that snowman thing. But I don't know. In the end, I just decided to go a little more, I guess, traditional, if you can call robots traditional Christmas. I don't know. I'll just take a sip of my eggnog. So, haven't watched any movies. Ronnie says, busy promoting and everything. That's awesome. That's what I'm always trying to do that as well. So yeah, what else is going on? Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's just getting stuff ready for the new year. There's a lot of stuff I've got planned coming up, and a lot of new videos. I don't want to talk about this too much, but I was approached by a company that has this app I may do something with. They do some cool stuff, and it's sort of like one of the ideas that they can do different things like these reality shows and these, you know, live game shows and stuff like that. So I'm trying to think of an idea for that. I might do a little bit of that. I've got another idea for a show that I've kind of been teasing too. But I've got to figure out a little more of the setup with that. Of course, we've got the 100 Days of Making Comics anthology that's coming. The second anthology, which I'm going to do a 4-page story plus, oops, I forgot to turn my phone off. This is what happens when you go live. All right, I'll have to take that later. But anyway, so yeah, so just a bunch of stuff coming up. Hey Charles, how's it going? How do I find illustration clients? That is a good question. For me, what I've recommended in the past is, one thing is just, you've got to put your stuff out there and hopefully people take notice of it. But what you want to do is you want to first of all, you want to create the type of work that you want to do, you know. So, and for instance, a lot of people, you know, especially when you're starting out, people will come to you and like, oh, you know, do this because then you know, or, you know, soliciting you for spec work and things like that. And saying, well, if you do this, then you have a piece for your portfolio. But honestly, you don't have to actually have done like professional work for a certain company or something like that for your portfolio. You can just pick a client, like somebody you'd like to work with, and just do a project of, you know, do whatever, you know, whatever you envision for that particular company, somebody that you would love to work with, a particular style you'd like to work in, or if it's a campaign or whatever it is, and just do that and then put that on your portfolio. And then, you know, it wouldn't even hurt to, you know, approach that company and say, hey, look, you know, I really love what you're doing. I don't know kind of what you're looking for or whatever, but because I love what you're doing, I thought I would, you know, design this for you just because I really dig what you're doing. And you can send that out to them. I still think postcards are effective because people aren't sending that many postcards. The problem with emails is, first of all, a lot of them go into spam. Second of all, there's just so much stuff. Like for my bills, you know, all the companies want to send me the e-bills. And the problem is they get so much email that I don't want, if I miss that bill, then I'm late and everything, and I don't want to be late on a bill. So I keep having those sent to me through mail because I know I get a lot less physical mail than I do email. So I'll know that, you know, oh, there's that bill, I got to pay it, because otherwise it could get lost in my folder. So you definitely, I still believe in like sending physical postcards. And again, I think, you know, concentrate on who you'd really want to work with. You can do like I don't want to say generic postcard, because I mean, but, you know, make an awesome postcard, and then you can send it out to whoever, different companies you like to work with. But the companies that you really want to work with, maybe even more than that, maybe in like a package or something, so put together something real nice. Because anytime you get something, because if I get something personal from somebody that really understands what I do, and it's not just something that they would send to everyone, that's really impressive when I get that in the mail. And it's the same for companies. So, you know, if you want to take a little extra time to like find 5 people that you really want to work with, and same thing, just like, you know, I'm starting out, but I think I got a lot to offer. Or if you don't, maybe you don't think you're quite at that level yet, if you want to pick up smaller clients, you can do things for friends and things like that. But, you know, what I always say is, if you're going to do stuff for people and not charge them, make sure it's on your own terms. Like if people come to you and says, oh, can you do this for me for free or whatever, I'd be hesitant to do that. But if you want to, if you want to do something like, you know, if you have a friend that has a business and if it sounds like something you might want to partner with or collaborate with with other people or whatever, then you maybe take some time, and it's got to be something you love and something that you know that you can use, and it's going to be something that's going to get you the kind of work that you want to do, you know, because 9 times out of 10, if somebody comes to you, wants you to do like something for their company, it's probably not, you're probably just doing it for the money, and it's not going to be something you would want to put in your portfolio. So in some ways it's not really worth doing. So, but anyway, so let me kind of get back to the chat and see what we got. So Charles says, sounds like fan art. I'm probably behind because I was talking and I wasn't paying attention to the chat, so I wasn't sure exactly what you're talking about, unless you're talking about the drawing that I'm doing now. Yeah, not really fan art. It's just kind of a Christmas scene of some robots, some elves building a robot snowman. So he likes to do comics for kids. Well, here's the one thing that I will say about comics, and this is the kind of the route that I've done as far as doing professional comics, especially if you said if you like to do them for kids, is that the thing is, if you do comic books for companies rather than like comic book companies, you actually get paid a lot more because they're dealing with advertising budgets instead of you know, what Marvel and DC pays like a page rate or whatever, and it's really not that great, especially, you know, even like the big Marvel artists, a lot of them don't make a lot of money. They can make money because they have built it, they have a name and people know who they are, and then they can go to you know, conventions and sell stuff there and everything. But even Marvel and DC artists, and especially like any, you know, most of the other companies, it doesn't pay a lot. But you can, if you do something for, you know, say a company that wants to market to kids, and I've done this quite a bit, a perfect pitch for them would be to say, hey, I see what you're doing. I know you're trying to reach kids. I do comics. I think producing a comic book that you can hand out to kids that will teach kids about your products and how, you know, it can benefit them, or it depends on what the product is and everything. I've done stuff for, you know, kind of like STEM projects and things to better students and that type of thing. And those always pay more. So like that, or like, you know, nonprofits, and I know it seems weird, nonprofits, but nonprofits a lot of times do have budgets for things like that. So, but those projects, the projects that you're doing for companies or nonprofits or stuff that's going to go into the schools maybe, or whatever, you can usually make a lot more money off a comic book project like that than you can working for like a comic book company. So that might be if what you'd like to do is, and this is a really good example, is do comics for kids. You know, maybe do a sample and say, you know, just like I said, approach different companies or let it be known that you're doing this kind of stuff. That's kind of the tricky things. Back in the day, I did a lot of cold calling and stuff like that. You know, but that's always kind of been my route rather than going for the work for, other than doing my own personal comic book projects. But so that's what I would, that's what I do. So Ronnie says the lunch is over, going back to work. So thanks. I appreciate you sticking in and everything, and checking out the chat, or being in the chat, checking out the live stream here. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, so I've done comics for non-comic companies. Can you give me an example? So hopefully, my girlfriend's uncle has a nonprofit, and it's called Kids at Hope. And what it is basically, and it's called Kids at Hope because there's that phrase that's kids at risk. And he wanted to not set them up like you're at risk. So instead it's called Kids at Hope because, you know, when you're doing these kind of programs, you want positivity around it. You don't want to, you want to say you know, there's hope for these kids. So anyway, but basically he goes into schools and he teaches kids about this program. There's a lot of things to it, but the basic idea, he's got a character called the Time Traveler, and I didn't create the character, somebody else created it, but I did a comic with this time traveler character. But the idea is that if you can vision your your future, you basically look at your future. What are you going to do? What are you going to be when you grow up? What's your family life going to be like? What's all this? And then if you can visualize that, then you can take steps to achieving those goals. So basically, as a character called the Time Traveler, who is kind of this time traveling, motorcycle, and he goes back and he meets with these kids and talks about all that. So I did 2 comic books for that. So that's one of the examples. The other one had this. There was a sequel that they brought at the time, I don't know if he still is, but the world's best, like, what is it? Free throw shooter or whatever, basketball guy. I don't know, but he was part of that. So we brought him in as a character and did all that. So I did 2 of those. I've done stuff. I did a thing for a while back, a magician that, he was a firefighter. He was also a magician. Just to kind of talk, and he would go into the schools and do magic and talk about fire safety and stuff. So I've done comics on that, and I'm trying to think what else I've done a few of them here or there. But those are some examples of stuff that I've done. Let's see. So, haven't seen anything like that. Oh, I remember when I was in school, and maybe it's different now. I don't know, but there would always be things where people would come and they would hand out, you get a coloring book or a comic book or something like that. So yeah, I mean, that's, when people do school visits, and that might even be one route to look at, is like, who does school visits, or what are people that are in the schools and doing things, because they like to have something that they can leave behind, that if it's a business, or if it's, again, a nonprofit, or if it's an organization, that things that the kids are going to be into. I did a series for AAA, AAA, the audit, what does it stand for? Auto Association of America. I did a coloring book series for them, and they would go into the schools and they'd pass out the coloring books and things like that. So coloring, I like to do coloring books and comics and all that kind of stuff. So I've done a lot of that kind of stuff. But yeah, just people that do like school visits, they usually want something they can leave behind, and a comic book project is something really cool. The other thing, if you want to do more kids stuff, one thing that I used to do is when I had kids, well, I still had to have kids, but they're older. But we would go in and get into a restaurant. We used to eat out a lot back when I was married and stuff. Now I usually cook at home, but the kids would always get the kids menu and ask for an extra one. And I'd always take those, and I've got a big file of all these kids menus, because they want like activities and things. So all these different restaurants, that might be a way to go if you want to approach. And again, the problem is you've got to find out who the advertising agency is that represents those restaurants. Unless it's a smaller restaurant, then you can go directly to them. But that might be a way to go. And again, do a mock-up for either a fictional restaurant or one that you just like, and use that as an example. And then you can show people, like, this is what I did. A lot of times they'll have activities on the back and then the menu on the front. So I've done that. I've done menus for Denny's and some other restaurants and everything. So yeah, that's kind of what I would advise you to do as far as that goes. So let's see. The legend. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the chat. Do I print my comics at the store or at home? So a little bit of both. So one thing I do every time I put out a new comic, I do a mini comic version of it. And the mini comic it usually comes with an original sketch, but it's all hand done, hand put together. I do print out on my home printer, and then it's all hand assembled. It's usually got like a cut, like I say die cut, but it's basically me with an X-Acto knife, maybe cutting things out. Sometimes they'll have a window. Like the new one I'm doing, a lot of it takes place in an arcade. So I'm going to do like the front is going to look like an arcade cabinet with kind of the screen cut out, and then behind that, because it's like a slip cover, and then behind that you see the cover, and you'll see like the kids and everything like that. But in the past I've done where these zombie hands kind of come in, and then I've done one that had a trap door that would open up like a kind of a gatefold. So I put a lot into those, and again, they're a little more premium because they're all hand done. But those I'll print by hand. I mean, at home on the computer and assemble them. But my other ones I send out to, first I went to Kablam and had some issues with Kablam. So now I'm going with a company called Comics Wellspring, and it's a print-on-demand company. So you can do small runs. I think you can do with Kablam. I think you could do just one comic if you want. I think Comics Wellspring you have to get at least 25, but I usually print that many anyway. So yeah, so I'll go with Comics Wellspring, and I'll print, just send, do the digital files, you send them, and they'll print them out and send them to you and everything. If you're doing a larger run, like if you're doing like 1,000, couple thousand, then you might want to look into offset printing, because you can get the cost down a little bit. The only way you can get the cost down is if you're producing a lot, like multiples, like you're up in the thousands and stuff. So so that's kind of what I do. But for now, like when I finish the series and I collect them all into a trade, I will probably do that trade offset printing, because then I'm really going to promote it and everything. Right now I do a Kickstarter, and I sell copies here and there off my website and everything. But and I maybe, I might have been able to do like a print run of like 1,000, and well, I don't know if I sold 1,000 of any of my issues actually. So for right now, I'm just sticking to the print on demand. But when I do the trade and I want to actually really start promoting it and everything, then I'm probably going to I'll do a Kickstarter, and hopefully if I can raise the funds, then I'll do offset printing. And the other thing is, like, now newsprint's becoming popular. I know Alterna Comics has been talking about letting you piggyback off of their print runs on newsprint. And that way you can get the price down quite a bit if you don't mind your comics being on newsprint. So that's something that I don't know if I would do the trade that way. And if I would have known about this, or it would have been going on when I started, I might have done my comic as on newsprint, but I've kind of already established kind of a look for that, on the certain paper that I use. So I'm just going to continue on with that. So anyway, so yeah, so let's see what else we got here in the chat. Okay, let's see. We've got, what are your thoughts on digitally cleaning up inked drawings before publishing? I do that all the time. Like, if you're talking about traditional, yeah, I don't have any problems with a lot of the things that people have problems with. I know, like, there was a kind of a controversy with Holly Brown that she traced something or something like that. That didn't bother me at all, because first of all, it wasn't anything that was going to be published. She was just playing around with some ideas. Second of all, if you look at Holly's body of work, I mean, you can tell she draws. She draws more than probably anyone I've ever known. So because she traced something, that doesn't bother me. That there's certain things that I've traced. Like, sometimes if I need to draw a car and I'm in a pinch, I mean, instead of trying to figure everything out, I'll find a photograph of a car and I will trace the car, So I don't have a problem with that. I mean, if I need to draw a car, I know how to draw a car. So, I mean, I would advise you maybe, I mean, if you're learning, then definitely, trace and everything. I'm going to switch back over. Let's see. Okay, so what I'm going to do, so I've got my pencil sketch right now. I'll get back to that question in a minute. But what I got to do is I got to print out the, let me see. I'm just going to print out this so I can ink, because I'm going to ink this thing traditionally, because I think I can ink way faster than I can digitally. So I'm just going to print this out. So you might hear the sound of my printer here. So hopefully it won't be too loud. All right, so I'm going to print that out. Okay, so I got to go back to the chat here. Trying to figure out the printer's offline. Hold on, I got to turn it on. Okay, is that? I think I turned it on. Okay, all right, here we go. All right. Let me go back to the chat so I can finish answering the question here. Let's see. Where is it? Okay, here we go. All right. Let's see. So yeah, if you sometimes tracing will help you learn how to draw things, but you don't want to use it as a crutch. But I don't really have problems with, like, I would say use whatever means you can. Whatever's gonna, learn. You want to learn how to draw, and you want to know how to make stuff, and So don't use this stuff as a crutch, but if you need it in a pinch or if it's going to help you, cleaning up stuff digitally is perfectly fine with me. And I do that all the time. I mean, I use like this hybrid method of like, I usually pencil traditionally, ink traditionally, I'll scan it in, clean it up. I'll do my letterings digitally. Going forward, I may do more of my comic book stuff digitally, my sketching and everything. Okay, so I printed this out, and we're going to start inking this here. So hold on a second. I gotta figure out how to switch my camera over in a minute. Where we go here? Hold on, just give me a second here. It's all live, folks. All right. You're gonna switch over. All right. Okay. I gotta also go back to the chat here. Okay, so yeah, use whatever, and this is my opinion. Some people, may say, oh, if you're traditional, you got to work all traditional. If you're digital, you got to do all traditional, whatever. But yeah, I don't see any problem with cleaning up anything digitally. I mean, these are all tools. I mean, they're just things that are helping us. And the more things that come out that are going to help us create what we want to create, I would take advantage of those tools. So, okay, let's see what else we got. Let's see. Hold on. Oh, okay. So here's one. Hi, Scott. How do you handle public speaking at events or schools? I get nervous because I'm an introvert, and I started to do presentations at schools on children's book and at schools on the children's book I help illustrate. Okay, wow, that's really good because I'm the same way. I remember when I was in high school, that we were doing some kind of thing. It was some kind of a trial, like a mock trial, but had something to do with Abraham Lincoln. And I had written this whole thing out that I was going to do this presentation, and I got up there and I just stuttered and and I was shaking and everything, and it was like, and I don't know if I was expecting that to happen. But yeah, I just I am not good at that at all. So I'm kind of in the same boat. But one thing that I'm, just doing these YouTube videos, I'm getting a little more comfortable, and I know it sounds like you're already in the middle of it. It's kind of this baptism of fire where you've kind of been thrown into it. If that wasn't the case, if you had time to kind of work up to it, I really believe that introverts like myself or like you we can learn to do some of this stuff, but it's probably better just to start off small. Like get more comfortable. Like if you have like what I'm doing with YouTube, talking to the camera is one thing, but then talking to people, and I really try to get out of my comfort zone and do that more and more. I still don't know if I'm at a point where I could stand up in front of a group. Now I'm wondering, and you can let me know if this is the case or not, but if you have the book, sometimes I find it easier if you have like props with you, because you can always kind of hold those up and refer, and if you are kind of shaky like I get, if you're holding something up or if you have something in your hand or something, sometimes that takes the focus off of you. So I did do a presentation, it was a while ago because I've done a lot of like foam sculpting and prop making and things like that. And we had this Halloween convention where I got up and I kind of showed people how I did that, but I had a lot of props. And I wasn't always looking at the crowd. I was kind of looking at the props and kind of showing people how it works. So that worked out fine. If it was just me in front of a podium and maybe like a PowerPoint, I don't know if I would be comfortable doing that yet, but I think the thing is just to start off slow. I don't know, maybe a lot of times comic conventions, if you go to comic conventions, I don't know, but they have like panels and things. If you can maybe get another a group of people that talk about the subject. So if at some point you aren't comfortable or you don't know what to say, you can kind of leave it to the other people, but you can always step in and like talk about whatever your area expertise is or whatever. But that might be a way to kind of get more comfortable, something with a group of people. But that's sort of something that I'm not totally comfortable with yet myself. But I'm getting better, just the fact that, I do go to comic conventions, and I haven't done any of these like the panels other than that one that I did a while back. But I do talk to people at shows, and I get a little more comfortable conversing with people and everything. So at some point I would like to be at a point where I could actually get up and in front of a school and do that. And I think if I was given the opportunity, I would probably take it, because I think that's the time where things really, anytime you can step out of your comfort zone. And it could be, you always like to say, what's the worst that can happen? Because usually it's not as bad as you think. But like back to when I was in school, when I got up there and, and did that little presentation, I was shaking and I really couldn't get through with it. And I think at one point the teacher probably kind of stepped in and said, took control of it and was like, oh no, that's okay or whatever. So, but yeah, that was, things like that, they really affect you, and that affects you long-term to where you don't want to get up and do that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, that's why public speaking is like people's worst fear. Like if you surveyed a bunch of people, if you surveyed everyone, like public speaking is right there at the top. So yeah. And I really admire people that are good at it. And it's something that I would like to do. I'm just not great at it yet. So, okay, what else we got? Let's see. Yeah, so it's back to the kind of the photo retouching thing. As far as instead of using gouache or like a pro white just to digitally edit your, any comic book stuff. Yeah, I mean, if it's wrong, then I'm doing it wrong, because I do that too. So I don't have any problems with that. Sometimes I'll still use, I don't know, lately I don't think I've used any kind of, unless it's, if it's something that's going to be produced digitally, like if it's something like this where I'm not going to actually publish it, then I might go in, if I needed to correct something, I would use like a pro white or gouache or something. But if it's something that's going to be digitally produced, then yeah, I'll go in there and digitally clean it up and everything. So I don't have really any problem with that. So I'm going to take a sip here. Man, when you talk a lot on camera like this, because usually when I do this when I do the art casters, but it's not just me, so I can take a break. So hopefully I won't lose my voice. I got to get used to doing more. I would like to do more of these live streams. And that's another thing, if you guys want to let me know in the chat, if there's things you'd like to see on my channel, or especially, I'm always trying to think of topics and things to talk about. So if there's things like this that you want me to do like a dedicated video on, or if a subject you want me to cover, as long as I know about the subject, then I'm all ears as far as that. I'm always looking for suggestions and things, and because the stuff that you guys, I mean, this channel is for you guys. So if there's things you want me to talk about that I haven't addressed or anything or gone over, and even something that, and I might start revisiting other things that I've done from a while back, because not everyone goes way back in the archives. And sometimes when you revisit things, you have a different perspective on some certain things. So there might be things like that that I might go back and kind of readdress and everything. So Barry Stonefish says hi. Hey Barry, how's it going? Who else haven't I really addressed here in the chat? Let's see. Is it Mashenheed? Am I pronouncing that right? Hopefully I'm really bad with pronouncing stuff. So let's see. Vinny says, whoa, the legend. Oh, well, if you're talking about me, thank you. Let's see. So Dan Ekus is in the chat. I was just watching your video. I had to start this, so I got about 3/4 of the way through your video with you and Josh Kimball, and I did see your text, so I will text you back, Dan, about that. I don't know if you want me to go into that on this here, but I can if you want, but otherwise I'll just text you back on that. Let's see. So Charles has another thing. Let's see. What's this? I'm just reading this. Okay, so recently I've been making, this is from Charles Tofield, recently I've been making spot illustrations based on the original Mega Man video as well as their boss robots. Would that have been an example of the sort of projects you're talking about? Yeah, if that's something you want to do, it might be hard to kind of break, like, if I don't know if the end goal is to try to do something with Mega Man, and I don't know, sometimes with a lot of these bigger, it's almost like just breaking into comics in general. I mean, if you want to draw, you know, Batman for DC, you do Batman samples and send them out. So yeah, if you want to do, you know, just, I guess depending on, I guess I would, if you're, obviously there's the kind of the law of average. So if you're doing something just for, if you want to create something like Mega Man and you want to work on Mega Man, you're kind of limited to that because you've got just a few shots at doing Mega Man. Now, as long as, or if the audience can look at that and say, oh, I like how he did Mega Man, how can this apply to what I'm doing? But, and this, again, this is just my opinion, but something similar to that you like working on that maybe has a little broader appeal, because then you could approach, you know, then you could approach a few different companies, you know, like, you know, if people like maybe a more like a video game character of your own creation or something like that, or something like that, that maybe could work as a possible children's book, or something that could work as, like I said, a children's menu or anything like that. Maybe also do something that's has a little more broad appeal. That way you can send it out to more people. But if your goal, like I said before, if your goal is to do something with Mega Man, then do Mega Man, and I would send it to anyone out there that has a license for or that works on the Mega Man property, and see what happens, you know. So yeah, there's two ways to go about that. But yeah, I mean, I really believe you should do what you want to do, you know, and you know, stuff like that. So if I, you know, say what I'm a big fan of, I'm a big fan of Stranger Things. So I don't do a lot of fan art, but a while back I did, you know, some illustrations of all the Stranger Things characters, and I really show that. I mean, if people may have seen it or something, but who knows? I have heard of a lot of people that do fan art, and then the actual companies that represent those properties will actually come to them and they say, I love what you're doing with the character. Would you want to actually do it as an actual project? So, I mean, that stuff does happen. So as much as sometimes I'm kind of like, well, you should do your original stuff, and not so much fan art. I mean, there have been people that have done fan art and got projects from it. Like Will Terry, if you watch any of his videos, he does those little characters where he takes fan art and does the little baby versions of them. And because of that, he got a book deal because people looked at that and liked the style. So even though, and there's a good example of what you were just talking about, what we were talking about with the Mega Man. There are people that maybe see your Mega Man stuff and say, well, we don't do Mega Man, but I like the way he did this version of it, and I think that style would fit into something else. So yeah, I mean, there is definitely a possibility there. So, all right, let's see. So Dan says, no, yeah, I'll email you or text you back on that, Dan. Let's see. I like reading through the questions before I read them. Let's see. So Toon Blast Art, thanks. I'm finding it easier the more I do it. Sometimes I create speed paintings of my art to show the kids and talk about the reasons that I'm doing the book. Yeah, anything you can do to make it easier. Yeah, speed painting, that's a great idea. If you can get a setup where you can actually draw, because that's probably more what you're comfortable with. And then you don't even have to like look at the crowd. You just, because you got to look at your drawing. It's hard to draw without looking at it. So that's a great way. I love that. I may have to steal that if I ever get in the situation where I have to do a speaking thing. But yeah, the live drawing, that would be, and I guess you wouldn't even have to. If you do it, you could also do it in easel too. You could do it digitally if they can project it, or just on an easel. But that's, I would recommend if you're worried about, definitely props help a lot. So And because we're artists, that's probably better anyway, you know, than just standing up there. So let's see. Red Drawer says, love the art. Thanks. So yeah, I guess I should go back and talk a little bit about the art. So right now I'm using, I think this is is it a Kiritake Fude brush? I don't know, because as you can see, it's all in Japanese. But this is like one of my favorite pens. I actually have stopped. I haven't done a lot of like brush and like dip ink lately, because I'm really liking this. Although I still think I get a better handle. Like if I do my actual comic book, I might use my sable brush and all that instead of like the pocket brush here. But I do like these pocket brushes a lot. But this one's one of my favorites. So, and this time I did this all digitally, and here's where I'm going to pitch my product. But so I did the pencils traditionally with my own brushes that I created that are part of the Comic Maker Starter Kit. So if you guys aren't familiar with that, if you go to my website at serkworks.com, it's kind of all over the website, so you can't miss it. But it's totally free. You go there, you can download this Comic Maker Starter Kit. It comes with digital brushes, it comes with fonts, it comes with templates, halftones, special effects, all kinds of stuff. So so I'm using that for my own stuff too as well. I didn't use the inking stuff because I still can ink way faster traditionally, because I see a lot of people that ink traditionally and you see them do the swipe like a few different times and it takes them. But for me, like once I lay that pen down, I know I can get it pretty much the way I want traditionally. So I can still ink way faster traditionally. So this is sort of a hybrid method there. So let's see. Okay, Keeman had to run. Yeah, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to everyone. If you guys celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. It is Christmas Eve, and that's why I'm doing a live stream, because I didn't have time. I've been so busy, I haven't had time to like put together a video. But yeah, I think I might do. And let me know if you guys want to see more of these live streams. So what else? I'm going to take a drink before I get ready for the next chat here. All right, let's see. Red Drawer says, let's see. See, the problem is I'm talking and they'll look, so now I don't know what the reference is. But Red Drawer says, I have that. I don't really get it. Oh, are you talking about the Comic Maker Starter Kit? Yeah, if that's what you're talking about, it's basically, you know, you open it up and there's different folders. There should be instructions on how to install the Photoshop brushes, but like there's things in there, like if you want to draw characters, you can either, I've got a template that's kind of just a basic human form, male and female, that you can kind of create your costumes over and everything. And you can either print that out or you can put it in Photoshop and go over it digitally, whatever you want to do. So yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff in there. I don't, you know, maybe I should do a video on how I use it, like actually open it up and kind of, that's not a bad idea. Plus that would help promote the product. So maybe I'll do a video on that and kind of really give an in-depth of what everything is. I don't know why I didn't even think about doing that before, but I should do that. Let's see. Okay, so Charles, also I'm curious to know about what your issues are with current comic industry. You mentioned that you had some issues with it. Yeah, basically it's my issues. Like, if you guys follow Peter Simeti of Alterna Comics, I'm in line with a lot of the stuff that he's doing. As far as I just think the prices of comics are just way too high. I think the main thing, more than anything, the most important thing we need to do is get more people into comics. And there doesn't seem to be a reason why we can't do that with all the success of the Marvel movies. If Marvel would just promote comics, like, you know, in the back of or a preview to one of their movies, and say, hey, kids, you like Spider-Man Homecoming? Well, guess what? You can read more about Spider-Man in your comic book store. That's one thing. You know, we need to get kids into comics, or anybody. So in order to do that, you also have to get comics in other places other than just comic stores, because comic comic stores, I love comic stores, but sometimes they're intimidating. If you're not into comics, they're not really, they're not really conducive to getting new people into comics, because you go in there and it's just like, this is another world if you're not used to it. And even sometimes if you are, like, I've taken breaks from comics and gone back into a store and like, I don't even know what half the stuff is or where I should start or what. So, I mean, comic book stores are all different. Some people are very helpful. I think if you go into a comic store and they greet you and say hello, and they said, "Is there anything I can help you with, or is there anything you're interested in?" or just to stop some of that confusion, but also get and you want to send people to comic book stores. And again, Alterna Comics, they're doing. I don't think they've ever done anything that I disagreed with, and one of the things that they're doing is trying to get comics in other places. Like, they've talked about wanting to get them into dollar stores and stuff. And of course, if you get them into dollar stores, you need to bring that price down. So that's a big part of it too, because kids can't afford it. When I was a kid, comics were, I think, anywhere from 65 to 75 cents. Okay. Now, granted, that was a long time ago. But if you add inflation to what they were then, comics should be around $1.50, which is what Alterna sells them for. They shouldn't be $4 each. Now, granted, if you buy my comic, it's $4. Okay. And like I said earlier, if I would have known about the newsprint thing, I probably would have done it differently, but I've already kind of established a thing. Plus, it's very independent. So sometimes when you're independent, you have to charge a little more. That's just part of it. But if I was a big company like Marvel, there's no reason why their books should cost $4, $5, $6, all the way up to like $8. Some of them, it's just, you can't collect. Kids can't get into it. It's just too expensive. So the other thing is, when getting comics into other places, whether it's dollar stores or whatever, one thing that Alterna is doing is they're putting in the back of each comic, they've got a list of all the comic book stores. So you may pick it up at a dollar store, but you may say, "Oh, I want more of this." And there's stores that sell only comics that I can go to, and they list right where they are. So everything kind of works together. But I mean, I could go on a whole episode, which I won't. But if you really want to know some of my problems with the industry, I think it's that we're not getting new people into comics, and you need to do that. And at first, everyone was worried about the digital just wrecking traditional comics, but that's not the case. Most traditional comics like floppies and trades and stuff, they outsell digital comics like it's not even a competition. So I mean, digital is not really a threat. And I sell both. I sell physical and traditional, physical and digital on my store, and I sell a lot more of the actual physical comics than I do the digital. So I mean, even though the digital is cheaper. I mean, I think a lot of people really just want, and they want to, I think a lot of it is people that pick up the comic, they want to support me. So they want to probably slip in a little more money and have something physical. So that's part of it too. But so yeah, those are some of my thoughts. And again, there's so much more to it. But definitely check out Alternas. They do a weekly kind of, I think he's doing it more now, but he's always putting up videos. And I like I said, I pretty much, and it's not like I'm just like a follower of his, like I am, but I had these thoughts before anyone was doing them, and now that Alterna is doing them, I just love what they're doing. So yeah, I would look to them as far as, I think if everyone did what they're doing. I know DC, I think now you can get their stuff in Walmarts, and they're like $5 for a big giant collection. So I think that's a step in the right direction, but people have to know that they're out there, So there you go. All right, let's see. Getting out of art block. Okay. The thing with any kind of art block or writing is, I think people are too concerned with trying to make something good instead of just trying to make something. If you have an issue with art block, don't worry about creating something great. Even if you're scribbling or whatever, putting just that action of putting something on the paper. Don't be so precious, but get in the habit of always just drawing. And it doesn't have to be good. You don't have to show anyone or anything, but always keep that pencil moving. And then gradually you're going to find something in there you like. and just the act of doing that is going to start to spark some ideas and things like that. But you know, it's difficult for me because I've been doing this for so long. I've got that quote, I've mentioned this before, but it was like, it was, inspiration is for amateurs, real artists just get to work. And I know that's kind of harsh, and I know a lot of people do struggle with creative block and everything, but if you want to work, and not everyone does want to work professionally as an artist, and that's perfectly fine, but if you do, I mean, you can't use that as an excuse. So I mean, it's just something you have to do, and you get used to it, and the way you get used to it is just by constantly creating. The same thing if you're a writer. People say they have writer's block, and you know, but I think again they're concentrated on creating this great work of fiction or whatever, when what they really should just be doing is just putting words on paper saying, oh, this is what's going on. If you can't figure out what to write that. Oh man, I'm having trouble figuring out what to write. What should I write? And just start with that. Same thing with drawing, and you know, just doodle, just sketch, just scribble. It doesn't have to be great, but you got to get into the act of creating and drawing and everything. So yeah, that's kind of my advice for that. So just don't be so precious, and it doesn't have to be great, but you do have to be doing something and getting in the habit of doing something. And I really do think that's going to hopefully spark some ideas, because ideas are everywhere you go, something's going on. And there's got to be something, you know, to draw from when thinking about that kind of stuff. So where are we here? Let's see. Okay, so Charles says, so in other words, you're saying that the industry has an opportunity to pivot attention into getting people to actually consuming the original source material. Why do you think that they don't do that? You know, that baffles me. I really don't know. I mean, part of it has to do with, you know, Marvel and DC they're not making money off. Maybe they make some money off of comics, but they're making all their money off of their licensing and their movies. And, you know, even though I sometimes rail against some of the DC movies, and I mentioned before, even though it has been kind of got some polarizing reviews, I did like Aquaman. I mean, I thought it was an awesome ride, but even though their movies aren't very critically acclaimed, DC, almost, maybe not so much Justice League, but I think all the other movies they put out were really profitable. So they're making money, especially Marvel. So they're concentrating more on that. And I think they're just using whatever's out there just to mine source material for the comics and stuff. I mean, for the movies, or for their licensing and everything, when I really think, you know, but that can only last so long. I mean, you have to keep continually coming up with new things and building a new audience, because as the people right now, I mean, sooner or later, we're either going to get fatigued, but if you want to battle that fatigue, you need to create new things, and you need new readers to get those things. So when they get to the point where they want that nostalgia feeling or whatever, that there's something there for them. So, yeah, I mean, I really don't know why. It just seems so simple why they can't make an effort to bring more people into, you know, the source material. I don't know. I really don't. I wish I did. So Ollie B said, thanks. Great looking Snowbot. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is fun. I mean, for me, and like back to the whole art block thing. If I ever have a problem coming up with an idea of what to draw, and sometimes I do, but for me, it's always like, what can I make and what can I turn into a robot? Because I like drawing robots. So when you know, that's always kind of my go-to. So if I have trouble coming up with something, so that could be the same thing with whatever. If you're having trouble on what to draw, like take two things and combine them, or always have like a go-to, like what can I draw and turn into a car or something like that, like I don't know, a transform. I don't know. But there's always things you kind of can combine to kind of create an idea. But my go-to is always, what can I draw and turn into a robot? So that's why I draw so many robots. It's probably, I can't think of anything else to draw. Let's see, what else we got in the chat? All right, Okay, so you're saying that you're chasing what has the largest income output and avoiding the comics because they don't make nearly as much, which you're stating is some sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how long comics can. I mean, comics are always going to be there, whether they're very niche and like, obviously like vinyl has kind of had that resurgence, and now to the point I think it's even growing more now. I mean, I was in Walmart the other day and they're selling vinyl records in Walmart and turntables. So I mean, you can't get any bigger than Walmart. So I mean, if they're selling vinyl now and they're reissuing all these like classic albums, like to the point where like I mean, I've got some old vinyl and I don't have a working turntable, but to the point where I was like, maybe I should get a turntable and get some of the, because I mean, just that the part when we moved away originally, when we moved away from vinyl into like cassettes and CDs, the biggest problem with that for the artists is that you're taking that cool album art, and that's why album art kind of went away, and to a lesser extent, like movie poster art, even though movie posters are still the same size, but they kind of moved away from that kind of really cool illustrative look. But those old albums, you just got this big giant album that you could just open up, and sometimes they fold out like a gatefold. I remember I bought the Beastie Boys Paul's Boutique album, and it folded out like 4 times, so it was just this big panoramic view. But I mean, that album art was really cool, and you just lost that when it went to CD. So I think I don't know that comics will ever go away, because there's always going to be people that want that physical stuff, something they can hold in their hand, and things you can't do digitally. Like if for all, and I'm against all the kind of flashy, what do you call it? Like the gate, just all the foil covers and stuff like that. But that is something you can't do digitally. So I can see why they do it. But it's kind of like if you go into an arcade now, you won't see a lot of the old, like the classic, unless it's a classic like arcade. You're not going to see a lot of the old cabinet games. You're going to see things because you can play those at home on your home console. So what you're going to see like the writing games, the games you can get on, or the games that have more interactivity, things that you can't play at home on your computer. So anything that you can't get digitally, that's what people are going to double down on eventually. So comics are always going to be there. They may get a little more niche. I hope not. I hope they still, I hope comic book stores stay around and everything, and continue to, people continue to discover comics, but it just doesn't seem like people are making smart decisions there. So yeah, I don't know why that is, but so Charles says, just saying something, anything to generate interest. Don't get me wrong, I was a big fan of Mega Man as a child, so it's kind of refreshing to know that I'm a better artist now, revamping these robots. Yeah, I mean, I'm totally in favor of drawing what you love. I mean, a lot of times you'll hear me talk about that I don't do fan art or whatever, but it's not that I really have anything against fan art. For me personally, I like to do my own take on certain things, but I do like to do fan art from time to time. But I'm in favor of drawing whatever you love. I mean, if whatever gets those creative juices flowing, that's what I'm in favor of. So yeah, I would continue to do that. This is very confusing. So, I don't know if you're talking about that, because we're going back and forth between the the comic book stuff and just kind of how to get work out there to people that may want to hire you and stuff like that. So so I don't know if that's what you're confused about, but yeah, or if it's just if you're talking about the comic book, the things people are doing as far as the comic book industry. Confusing, yes. Frustrating more for me. I think it's really frustrating, because a lot of that just seems sort of elementary to me. So anyway, so we're getting close to wrapping this thing up. Well, I got a little more to do here, but But anyway, it's coming along. So if you got questions, let's get them in. Let's see what else we got here. I thought it would be a little less difficult to gain clients. Yeah, that's, I wish it was easier, believe me. I don't know why it's so hard to, one, put out digital, put out a digital shingle? What is that? I'm not sure what that is. Maybe put in some online ads, speak to potential clients, and do the work. Yeah, I mean, it's tough, and a lot. What's even tougher is that even when you have people that appear to be interested in working with you, a lot of them, you know, one thing I always say is never, and it's hard for me sometimes because I'll get a potential client. I'm like, oh, this could be cool, and I get excited about it, and then for whatever reason, it just doesn't happen. It just goes away. So never count on anything until you've got like a signed contract. And even then, sometimes those can fall apart as well. So, all right. Hey, we got Gibran Redinger in the chat. Hey, Gibran, how's it going? So let's see what we got here. Well, it's up to indie creators to fill that gap of better prices, better stories. The great thing is if you don't like something, you have the power to change it. Yeah, I totally believe that. But I do believe also that, you know, because we're indie creators, sometimes we don't really have the wherewithal to bring those prices down. I mean, I think we can do it now that if Alterna introduces this thing where we can piggyback off of their stuff and print on newsprint, I think we can bring our comic prices down. But the big companies can do that. I mean, they can find advertisers and things like that, and they can bring their comic prices down if they want. It's hard. It's a little harder for indie creators because if we wanted to run ads, sometimes it's hard to get decent advertising, and that can help offset that and bring that price down. So it's a little. I definitely believe what you're saying, but sometimes I think we need the help of the big guys, and you know, Peter from Alterna has also talked about that. Is that, you know, as indie creators, a lot of times we're like, I don't really care what happens with Marvel or DC, but I think we should, because if they go away, I mean, it's going to, and they could go away, and they won't go away as far as like there's no more Spider-Man. There will always be a Spider-Man or a Batman or whatever, but they might not be in comic form, you know. So, you know, if that goes away, that's not going to be good for indie creators. So even if you don't read Marvel or DC or care what they're doing, you really should. So, I mean, I think it's really like Don Quixote kind of like fighting windmills, you know, almost near impossible task for indie creators to do it ourselves. But I definitely, you know, that's not going to stop me from trying to do it. So, but yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. Almost done drawing, I think. Yeah, I'm getting close to being finished here. And let's see, did I miss anything? Because I think Charles had some other comments here. Okay, so Charles said about the confusion. So I'm sorry, what I meant to say is that confusing to find people to do work for. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could get up here and just like give you all these really great tips, and it's, you know, it's just it's kind of that's why everyone's, you know, the whole starving artist thing, and that's why people, when you tell them you want to be an artist, why it's so difficult, because, you know, I could tell you things that I've done, but it may not work for you, and a lot of the work that I do now is just really because I've been doing it for so long, and I've got a body of work, and that helps, you know. Whereas if I was just starting off, it would be a lot harder. And when I was just starting off, it was a totally different, you know, set of rules. I mean, we would actually sometimes go into places and drop our portfolios off and leave them there and go pick them up later, which that's not something you do anymore. So the ways to go about this are entirely different. But the thing is, now, the great thing is we have the internet, and it can take a lot of time to do this. But even like what I'm doing on YouTube, I mean, that's people are, you know, I've been doing this for a while, and now more people are starting to take notice, and it definitely is a long game, and you kind of just have to keep with it. You got to keep putting things out there, and gradually the more people that are aware of you, the more you will be able to find clients and things. Because I really look up to people like Jake Parker, who's built just this massive following to the point where he can basically write his own ticket now, because he has such a big following that whatever he wants to create, he can create, and there's an audience that he can market that to. Now, I know we're talking kind of two different things, because we're talking about client work versus personal projects and how to make money off of that stuff. But a lot of it does go hand in hand, because a lot of client work will come from the people seeing your personal work. So that's why you always want to do the really cool personal work that you like. And I think hopefully that'll help you get the clients you want. But yeah, it's not easy. And I wish I could give a little better advice, but it's just kind of a matter. And a lot of it is, it's marketing. It's the unfortunate thing about being an artist is that you have to, more than just being a great artist, you also have to be a good marketer. You have to be a good businessman, a good promoter, all that stuff. And as artists, we just wish we could just draw and not worry about all that stuff. But unfortunately, unless somehow you've gone viral, or if your work is just so incredibly good that it's just shut up and take my money good and people take notice of it, you really have to market yourself. And I think it's, finding people you want to work with is the first step, and just sending stuff to them and keep, unless they tell you not to, and you want to make sure your stuff, you also have to be realistic, and you have to look at what's out there, and you have to be realistic and say, is my stuff at that level? Because for instance, I know that I couldn't be a fantasy painter. I'm not a painter. I'm not that good at painting. So if I'm sending stuff to Magic the Gathering, I know that they're not going to want to work with me, because my stuff isn't if that's nothing I've really concentrated on. Now, if I really wanted to work for Magic, then I would start taking some painting classes and some color classes, and just all the things that I really need to learn in order to do that. But that's not really where, the trajectory for me is heading. That's not something that I really want to do. I want to do more stuff like what I'm doing here. And I know I'm a little more confident doing this kind of stuff. So yeah, but you have to be a little realistic, and you have to look at the kind of work, whatever client you're working with, what kind of stuff they're putting out, and say, is my stuff at that level? And if it is, then definitely start sending stuff out. And if you can say to yourself, no, it's not quite there yet, then you've got to keep pushing and getting to that point. And in the meantime, you can do try to get some work doing smaller, like local things or whatever, or if you have a day job or whatever, just take whatever time you can when you're not working, and work on the stuff you love and start putting it out there. And then hopefully eventually maybe you can pick up a few smaller jobs doing that kind of stuff, and eventually hopefully maybe transition it into doing just your own artwork for a living. But it's definitely not easy, and hopefully I don't give that impression that it is easy, because really, and I'm a little spoiled because I've been doing this so long, that a lot of the work that I get is just because I've known a lot of people over time, and I've built my work up to a certain point where, like, if there's a certain client that wants to do a certain type of thing, chances are somewhere in my repertoire of all the stuff I've done, I could pull something out and say, oh, you want a cartoon dog? I've done tons of cartoon dogs. Here's some samples, or whatever it is. So anyway, so yeah, I wish it was a little bit easier. So I don't know if I missed anything. Let's see what we got. Do you prefer traditional or digital? So that really depends. Comic books, I like traditional better. Most of the work that I do, like my professional stuff, a lot of that is digital. Like if you go to my online store and you look at my prints, most of those are finished digitally. Did I say traditional before? Sorry. But a lot of times I sketch everything still traditionally, and then I'll scan it in, and then I'll do the finishing digitally. But as far as comics, I sketch, I ink, and then I'll scan it in, and then I'll do like the cleanups and the lettering and everything digitally. So I use kind of a hybrid method. but I do want to start. I do want to start doing more sketching digitally because I think that's going to really speed up my process. So, for instance, I don't know if you were in for the whole thing, but this one I penciled it digitally, then I printed it out, and now I'm inking digitally. So it's a little bit of both for me. I use both, so I don't really have a preference. I think I enjoy traditional more, but it's not always as it's not always as quick. It's not always effective, as efficient, I guess that's what I was looking for, the word efficient. So let's see what else we got here. Let's see. Great advice. Hey, don't mean to be mean. I didn't see anything in there that sounded mean. So I don't oh, okay. Let's see. Do something not boring, please. So I don't know if that's a troll or what. Yeah, you might have to clarify on that. Let's see. I just meant drawing something more interesting. Okay, well, I mean, everyone has their own preference. I like robots, so to me that's interesting. It might not be interesting to everyone else. I don't know, but yeah, everyone's got their own preference. So yeah, now that some of those other comments make sense. Let's see. Let's see. So I got another comment that says some nice work, some nice line work. So yeah, I mean, you know, to each their own. I mean, some people like it, some people not so much. All right, let's see. Well, I mean, if it's boring, you know, I mean, I don't know why you're watching. If something's boring, I wouldn't be watching it. So, let's see what else. I think that's. Oh, let's see. This is a question I don't know if I can answer. Is MacBook Pro or iMac or Air good for Photoshop? I really can't answer that because I don't use, I mean, I use some Mac products. Like I have an old iPad and I've got iPhone, but I've used, like when I worked a day job, I used Mac, but I use a PC at home. So I'm not beholden to any certain platform, but I haven't used either a MacBook Pro. For me personally, I don't like laptops in general. I don't, I just don't like the way they are. I like, you know, I may at some point get like an iPad Pro or an iPad. Now you can use the regular iPad. I think the newer ones, I think you can do, what do you call it? I mean, the Apple Pencil works with them. So I may get an iPad, but I just don't like laptops. And that's, I know I'm probably in the minority because know people like that portability, but I don't like the little screen. I don't like the way the keyboards are so thin, and I don't like all that stuff. So I don't usually use a laptop. I don't have a laptop, so I can't really speak to that. I wish I could. So yeah. So anyway, so just wrapping up this drawing. So I mean, it could be fun to add some color to this, but yeah, I don't know. It's probably not my best work, but it's, you know, it's fun, and I didn't want to take too long because I don't want this to be like a 3-hour live stream. It's already gone fairly long. So let me just check in the chat one more time and see where we are. Robots are cool. This is cool. For my digital art, I use MacBook, but I used to use a Chromebook. Okay, good. So thanks. So Red Drawer said that, and like, yeah, especially people that know more about some of these questions that I don't answer, definitely feel free to help me out there. AB Sapien is in there. Great job. Thank you. Awesome piece. Thank you. Yeah, so as you can tell by the hat, and again, I got my eggnog and everything. It is Christmas Eve, and because of that, I've been so busy I didn't have time to put together a video, so I just decided to come on here live and just chat with you guys and draw with you guys. So, but I think we've still got stuff coming in. Love how you have the elves building the snowman. Nice idea. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I like that. I wish, the only thing I don't like to do this where I bash my own work, because it's not good form, especially if you're like doing a portfolio review and like people say that, well, this could do some work in this stuff. Well, it's not my best work. You don't want to do that. But just just being transparent, for something like this, I wish I would have done some preliminary sketches and like come up with some better maybe character designs for the elves, because I think they could have, they're sort of generic-y and everything, but anyway, I don't know. I'm happy with the snowman, so that's good enough. And that goes back to what we were saying before. I mean, don't be too precious with your art. Just we're here to create, and even though I did put this out in public and everything, it's just a sketch, so don't be too precious to that kind of stuff. Clawful 1971, Merry Christmas, Scott. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to everyone. I'm sure I will be back. I'll definitely be back before the New Year's, but I'll say Happy New Year's as well, just because I'm here. Love the hat. Thank you. My mom got me this hat we had a Christmas party yesterday, so she gave me and my brother these hats. So yeah, I dig it. And then I thought I should do some Star Wars art, and maybe for some of the people in the chat that thought this was boring, maybe if I would have made it like a Jawas building a snowman instead, like a robot snowman or even a BB-8 or something, maybe that would have been a little more interesting. But everyone's into different stuff. So but yeah, so I think I'm probably gonna end up calling it here. And do I do commission for tattoo? I have done. I've done artwork for tattoos. I'm not a tattoo artist, so I haven't done that, but I've done tons of like tattoo designs that have been tattoos that other people have applied. But it kind of, I don't do a lot of commissions in general, just because in order to do commissions, the price that I have to charge that's going to take me away from the stuff that I love doing tends to be what people don't want to pay, because there's other people that want to pay less. So I do a lot of commissions, but I'm at serkworks.com. So if you are curious and you want to know, you can hit me up there, and I'd be happy to kind of find out what you're looking for and possibly maybe do something. It also depends on the subject matter, because I'm kind of picky as far as what I like to draw. So but yeah, so anyway, yeah, so again, Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy New Year. I will hopefully see you guys. I know the Artcaster should be on later this week, probably Thursday, I think. I'll see you guys then if you want to chime in there. This seems to be a good time, though. I'm surprised that there's so many people in the chat, because a lot more than even Artcasters and everything, and that's kind of a standard, everyone, it's more or less the same time every time, but it is very late for a lot of people too. So even though it is Christmas Eve, it seems like there's some people in there. So I really do appreciate all the questions in the chat and everything. And again, I appreciate you taking time out of your Christmas Eve to watch me. But yeah, get back, and if you've got family, if you're close to family, if you got family, go spend time with your family, do all that. And if you're not, go spend time with yourself. Go out and see a movie. I mean, I've been doing that too. I just went out and saw some movies by myself, just because time and everything, and I had free time and other people were doing other stuff. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go see a movie. So whatever the case is, if you got family, if it's just you, have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I will see you guys later. And that is all.